because I'm curious as to where your bill is. Louisiana is the state with the second highest rate of deaths in this nation. You are more likely to be shot standing on a random street in your state than you are in Washington, D.C. So my question is, where's your bill for the occupation of the state of Louisiana to keep your people safe, if you're at all sincere in this?
Gentleman yield for an answer.
I yield for an answer.
I support state rights. I'm a constitutionalist.
But not D.C.?
Stand by. As a constitutionalist, I support my state, my sovereign state's legislature, which is doing everything it can to push back upon the crime rate of the Democrat-controlled cities.
Okay, so I'll take my time back. I'll take my time back.
If you remove
That's the rules.
the crime stats
That's
of
the
New
rules.
Orleans,
I'll take my time back. I'll take my time back. So you only invoke the rules when other people are speaking, not when you're speaking. Okay.
That's your time.
I agree with you. Look, I'm for state sovereignty. So what do you think about California?
California is not where I live. You asked me about my state.
See, you only care, and I'll reclaim my time. I'll reclaim my time. I'll reclaim my time. I'll reclaim my time. I will reclaim my time. The gentleman will stop speaking. I will reclaim my time. You're more likely to be shot standing in a random street in your state,
this is
in Louisiana, than anywhere in Washington, D.C. And you're here because you're lapdogs to the President of the United States, who during the election last year, we said time and time again, I reclaim my time.
Down, Mr. Chairman.
All right, hold on.
My colleague just called me a lapdog for the President of the United States. I move for his words to be taken down.
Crime in the District of Columbia has recently reached levels unseen since the violent era of the early 1990s. Juvenile crime has reportedly more than doubled the national average as of February 2024. The D.C. Attorney General and D.C. Council's soft-on-crime policies have created an environment of school absences and offenders to be released, allowing juvenile crime and violent crime to flourish. Further, recent anti-law enforcement rhetoric and highly restrictive policing laws from the D.C. Council have created retention and recruitment challenges for the Metropolitan Police Department. President Trump, in response, has made sweeping moves to bring federal law enforcement resources into the district and exercise existing authorities under the Home Rule Act to direct local law enforcement to combat the crime crisis. Like President Trump, House Republicans are committed to restoring law and order in our nation's capital city. The Home Rule Act, which was signed into law in 1973, provides a charter for the local government of the District of Columbia, granting a degree of self-governance to D.C. officials, including the authority to legislate, conduct elections, and otherwise govern local municipal affairs. Under the Home Rule Act, Congress retains the right to enact legislation for D.C. on any subject, including legislation to amend or repeal any law in force in the district prior to or after an enactment, and any act passed by the D.C. Council. Today, this committee will exercise this authority to consider several pieces of legislation to reinforce President Trump's efforts to make D.C. safe again.
It's pretty clear that Donald Trump and House Republicans, especially here on the Oversight Committee, are pushing a blatant power grab by hijacking authority from local Washington, D.C. leaders and residents. Now, as a former mayor myself, I know that city governments must serve the residents, and governments are there on behalf of the people. It's also a way to ensure when you elect someone to government that they're being held accountable by the people that elect them. Now, Congress should not use our nation's capital, an American city with over 700,000 residents, as a political prop. The people of Washington, D.C. should be empowered to make their own decisions. And quite frankly, if the president is so obsessed with governing D.C., he should step down as president and run for mayor. Now, Mr. Comer, we'll talk about this first bill. I and Democrats strongly oppose the so-called District of Columbia Home Rule Improvement Act, which should just be known, quite frankly, as the Home Rule Reduction Act. We know that D.C.'s autonomy is already limited, as the world has learned over the last month. I understand how difficult the federal government can make running a city on a day-to-day basis, and we should be empowering D.C. to fix its own problems. We know that this bill further limits D.C.'s autonomy. The bill limits D.C.'s ability to respond to an emergency and could cause chaos in the D.C. Code. The purpose of the D.C. Home Rule Act, the foundation of the D.C. government, is to, and I quote, grant to the inhabitants of the District of Columbia powers of local self-government, and to relieve Congress of the burden of legislating upon essentially local district matters, end quote. The Home Rule Reduction Act does just the opposite. It restricts powers of local self-government and increases the burden on Congress to legislate on local D.C. matters. Now, the bill endangers residents and visitors by limiting the authority of both the mayor and council to respond to an emergency, and that is dangerous. The bill strips the mayor of authority to issue executive orders and regulations that take effect immediately, even in the event of an emergency, such as a need to protect the peace, health, or safety of residents. Now, this bill requires executive orders and regulations to be transmitted to Congress for a 60-day congressional review before they take effect. The bill does not contain an exception for an emergency, and that is highly problematic. The bill also allows Congress to use a disapproval resolution for individual provisions of a D.C. bill rather than only for the entire bill. Giving Congress a line item veto for D.C. bills will cause chaos in the D.C. Code. Members of Congress will introduce disapproval resolutions on individual provisions without understanding how those provisions affect other provisions of the bill undergoing the congressional review process or the D.C. Code. That means more congressional micromanagement and more meddling in the democratic process. And that is less local authority and control for the people that have been elected to serve D.C. residents.
First of all, I want to say welcome to the people of Washington, D.C. who have flooded this hearing room on a day in which we are hearing a set of bills that have not so much as had a single public hearing. Let me just emphasize that. Not a single bill on this docket has had a public hearing as of yet. And I don't think that it is any mistake that this markup to vote these bills out of committee is happening on the last day that Donald Trump has ordered our nation's National Guard to occupy this city. There are no coincidences here, folks. So I have some questions for the chairman because we don't actually have witnesses here to testify about these bills. So my first question for you, Mr. Chairman, is where did these bills come from? Where did this package come from?
We've been talking about these bills for a year now, and you know that, Ms. Stansberry.
But why is this package being brought forward today?
This is a markup. That's when you vote on bills.
I understand the congressional procedure, but why is this committee marking up a set of bills today without a hearing? Did the president ask you to do this?
We're debating the bills as we speak. That's what a markup is.
Mr. Comer, did the president ask you to hold this?
I haven't talked to the president.
Was this markup called pursuant to the president's occupation of Washington, D.C.?
We've had this markup on the books for a long time.
And so there was no coordination.
You're participating in a markup.
There was no coordination with the White House on this markup.
I haven't talked to the White House, but I mean, there's always
didn't consult with the
coordination.
White House on
We support
this
the
bill?
president's.
You didn't consult with the White
again.
House on the development of a bill that would create the actual entity that he said he wanted? There was no coordination with the White House on this bill?
We support what the president's done. We've sat back and watched, and we've seen the crime rates go down significantly in Washington, D.C., and we want to make sure that crime stays down in Washington, D.C. If you don't like the bill, you can vote against it.
No, I'm asking you a question because we haven't heard this bill. Was this bill drafted in coordination with the White House? I'm asking the question.
It's not my bill.
Okay, does the sponsor want to answer that question?
I would say that we support President Trump, and bottom line,
It's just a simple question. Did you coordinate with the White House in the development of this bill?
People are dying in Washington, D.C.
Why can't
Crime
you
has
answer
been
the
cleaned
question?
up.
Mr. Chairman, we need order. We need order, Mr. Chairman.
It's just a question.
This isn't a debate. Mr. Chairman, we need order.
This actually is the debate. That
Ms.
is exactly
Stansberry
what
out
a
of order.
markup is, my dear. This is a debate over the bill.
This should be common sense. We're just trying to keep the American people safe. They're dying in D.C.
I just asked you a
and
simple
we are looking
question.
at President Trump's plan has worked.
Washington, D.C.
So we are going to codify
what
what President Trump did to keep the American people safe.
Okay,
I don't
thank you.
care if you're
That answers
Democrat,
the
Republican, or
question.
Independent. We love you, but we've got to keep you safe.
Okay, let me ask you another question. I'm going to ask the sponsor this question. Have you ever been inside of City Hall? Yes or no?
I have not.
Have you ever attended a city council meeting here in Washington, D.C.?
I have spoken with people all over
Have you
D.C.
ever
and
attended a
restaurants and
city
everything
council
else.
meeting here in Washington, D.C.?
And they thank us that they can walk down the street and walk their dog and ride on a subway without getting stabbed.
Did you consult with the
Without being
mayor
part of
or
a
the
drive-by.
council or any members of
And
law
without people
enforcement
coming
in
out
the
of Baltimore
development
and other
of this
places
bill?
because they know the laws are too lax here and it's not safe.
I'm asking the sponsor of this bill, did you consult with the mayor or the city council in the development of this bill?
I consulted with the people of Washington, D.C.
You did. Can you tell us some of who you consulted with? Can you tell us who you consulted with, sir?
Congress has jurisdiction over Washington, D.C., but
No,
I
I'm
talked
asking you a very simple question. Who did you consult with?
I
Did
just
you
told you.
consult with
I just answered you, but you're
Did you
not.
consult with the law enforcement of Washington, D.C.?
I talked to
in the
police
development of
officers
this
as
bill?
well, yes.
I'm asking the
I did.
gentleman
I spoke with
who's-
law enforcement. I spoke with restaurant owners. I spoke with people walking their dogs all around D.C.
Oh, you
and they
talked to
said,
people
thank
walking
God,
their dogs. That's
thank
how
God
you
we can
developed
walk
the
down the
bill.
street without being stabbed or mugged to be part of a drive-by.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't believe a Democrat, Republican, Independent would not like this common sense legislation
Sir, do you live
that
in the
keeps
Washington?
people safe.
Do you live in the Washington, D.C.
Well, the
area?
gentlelady
We're all here.
I'm asking you
I've
a
been here
question.
9
Are
months.
you a resident of Washington, D.C.?
recognize her colleague from Louisiana.
Sir, I have my time here. I'm asking the sponsor of the bill. You have debate time on your own. There's plenty of time to debate. Do you live here in the city of
We
Washington,
are all
D.C.?
here in D.C. representing our districts across the country.
Exactly,
And we
sir.
have jurisdiction
and so that
over
is
Washington,
exactly
D.C.
my point. If you wanted to run for mayor of Washington, D.C., then you could move to Washington and run in a democratic, free, and fair election.
Time's
and
expired.
actually become a
Gentlelady's time's
city official.
expired. Any other members seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Mr.
like
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Higgins?
I'd just like to say that I'm glad that the gentlelady just performed in the manner that she did, because America is watching, and it exhibited, like this display. Your display, good lady, and I'm quite sure you're a wonderful person and your family loves you. You and I don't really know each other, so I don't mean this in a personal way. I'm just observing that your display.
It's time.
Thank you for enhancing the point I'm about to make. Your display demonstrates exactly the sort of elitist, arrogant tone that Americans across the country are going to recognize as the hallmark of your party. So we sit back and I would yield my entire time to carry on like that, like to demonstrate to the American people, this is what the Democrat
Would like
Party
to yield your time.
represents.
I'm happy to take more time.
Arrogant elitism. And as you stated to me, good lady, you can have your own debate time. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Would you yield a minute to me? I have a question. I have a question.
Mr. Higgins yields back, and I just want to make sure everyone knows. Mr. Higgins spent his career in law enforcement. Mr. McGuire was a Navy SEAL. And I think they're sincere in their efforts and what we've seen over the last 3 weeks in the massive reduction in crime in Washington, D.C. And I appreciate their opinion and words of advice, and just wanted to make sure everyone knew what we were dealing with here. Now, does any other member seek recognition? Mr. Frost.
No, I just have a question for my colleague from the state of Louisiana, because I'm curious as to where your bill is. Louisiana is the state with the second highest rate of deaths in this nation. You are more likely to be shot standing on a random street in your state than you are in Washington, D.C. So my question is, where's your bill for the occupation of the state of Louisiana to keep your people safe, if you're at all sincere in this?
The words were taken down, and
I will continue with the reminder.
Point of order.
Mr. Frost has
Chairman.
3 minutes. Okay, point of order.
My point was that Mr. Frost has a right to his time.
Yeah, I said.
Unobstructed time, an opportunity to speak. And I think if we afforded him that right under the rules, then we wouldn't have this back and forth.
That's fine. He started by asking if people would yield to a question. I think that's how it all started.
He reclaimed his time, at least a half a dozen times.
I'm giving him 3 minutes.
Well,
even though I don't have to because of the rules, I'm giving him 3 minutes.
You're running this hearing, sir.
Okay, I'm giving.
Not a spectator.
Right. Okay, you got 3 minutes, Mr. Frost. Go ahead.
This body is full of lapdogs, doing exactly what the president wants, when he wants it, not pushing back. And what we just heard, this exchange with me and my colleague, is indicative of the problem here. None of you know anything about Washington, D.C. You're talking about a so-called, walking down the street and talking with people that are walking their dogs, people in the restaurants you go to, which might not be full of people from D.C. anyway. And it's just sad. It is sad. We need D.C. statehood. There are people, yes, we need D.C. statehood. We need to put this behind us. We need to stop. It's wild to me that we're here debating with people from the Republican Party, a party that's supposed to be about states' rights and local rule and people, the consent of the governed, which is fundamental to our Constitution and this country. But before you, we have activists, organizers, people who are here to say that they want a voice. They want to be represented by the government that they pay taxes to. Free D.C. Free D.C. And it's just grand to sit here with other members who have higher murder rates than Washington, D.C., but not invite the president to occupy their own state with the military. So I think it's important that we're here today to have this debate, because this is a debate about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and why every American should be concerned. And why, of course, every American should be concerned about what the president's doing, but in many cases even more concerned about the fact that Congress and that Republicans in Congress want to do nothing about it, and in fact they want to enable it and do anything the president says. The gentleman couldn't even answer the question about if the bill was drafted with the White House. We know it was drafted with the White House. And so we say free D.C., and we'll continue to fight for the people of Washington, D.C., who deserve for their home to be a state, who deserve for their local officials that they voted for, their city council, their members, to make decisions about how to make sure that this is a safer place. And I gotta say, when we talk about crime, when we talk about violence, gun violence has been going down in this country the last 3 years. We still have a lot of work to do, but you guys talk about it and nothing happens. We put forth solutions and pass bills like the Safer Communities Act, and violence goes down in this country. That's the difference between us. I yield back.